Photoshop is a great application that does so many things. We're going to start by looking at how to use a few selection tools in Photoshop that will make it easier for us to select things in our images and move them around. We can also use selections to combine things from different images, so you can select something in one image and then place it into another image. Let's begin by starting Photoshop. Then tap Open and tap on your computer. Find the images in the Demo Files folder. There's 4 images. I'm going to show you all 4 of them here. So we have shelves, a triangle thing, a clock, and some glasses of water. Yeah, so we're going to make a picture with the shelves, and we're going to put the other objects on the shelves. And here's the shelf, so I'll make it large enough to fill my screen. Here's a keyboard shortcut. To zoom in, use Command or Control and plus. And to zoom out, use Command or Control and minus. And I'm going to go get the clock. Okay, I need to select the clock from its background. So I'm going to use one of the selection tools, the elliptical tool. So the second one down is the rectangle, and if you 2-finger tap on that, you'll get the elliptical. If you hold the Option key and hold the Shift key, click in the middle and then drag out to select the circle from the center outwards. The Shift keeps it a circle. The Option allows you to start in the middle. When the clock is selected, we're going to go to the Edit menu and copy or do Command or Control C. Switch over to the shelf, go back to the Edit menu and do Paste or Command or Control V. Then switch to the Move tool. That's the top one on the tool panel. Use the Move tool to drag the clock up so that it's sitting on the top shelf. Now I'm going to check Show Transform Controls, which will allow me to get corners on the box that I can then move to resize it. So just slide in or out with the corner to make it smaller or larger. And then I'm just going to center it nicely on the shelf. Press the Return or Enter key to release the transform, and then click on the background to release the selection. I'm going to just go down to the bottom shelf, which is also empty. I'm going to put the triangle on that shelf. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to get the next selection tool. 2-finger click on the lasso, and you can pick the polygonal lasso. Click and then stretch to drag like a string out along the edge of the triangle, and then click again and stretch to the next point, and click and stretch over to where you started, and you'll see a small circle show up on your tool. That means you're going to close your shape. Click and it turns into a selection. Go to the Edit menu, select Copy or Command or Control C. Switch over to the shelf, go to the Edit menu and Paste or Command or Control V. Switch to your Move tool and pull the corners in to make the triangle small enough that it sits nicely on the shelf. Press Return to release the controls and then click on the background to release the selection. Okay, for the last shelf, I'm going to put a glass of water next to this bottle of water. And if we look at the glass, it's a little more complicated to select it than it was to select the clock or the triangle. So we're going to use a different tool. Below the lasso, we have the Object Selection tool. So 2-finger tap and pick that one. Then you're going to draw a rectangle around your glass, and Photoshop's going to figure it out for you. Okay, so it did a pretty good job. We might have to clean up a little bit. So we're going to zoom in really, really close. And if we look at the bottom of the glass, we see there's some extra shapes there. So we're going to go back and 2-finger tap on the Object Selection tool and pick the Quick Selection tool, which has some options at the top. Pick the minus option. We want to take away from the selection, and then run your tool along the area you want to take away. Okay, sometimes you might take away too much. So then switch back, or then go to the top and switch to the plus tool to put it back. And now you go to the Edit menu and Command or Control C or Copy. Switch back to the shelf and go to the Edit menu and use Command or Control V to paste. Switch to the Move tool and resize your glass by dragging a corner and move it onto the shelf. And when you like it, remember, press the Return or Enter key and then click on the background to deselect.
I'm going to zoom in a whole lot. And we're going to look at the edge. And I notice the edge has some extra kind of jagged dark areas on it. So I'm going to do a better job of selecting. I'll delete that one. And I'm going to go back to my original picture. And I'm going to pick my quick selection tool, but this time I'm going to tap select and mask up at the top. And I'm going to choose the refine edge brush, which is the second one down. And I'm just going to pick a relatively small brush size and run my brush along the edge of the glass where I saw the sort of dark jagged line. Here's a keyboard shortcut for changing brush size. Tapping the left bracket makes the brush smaller, while tapping the right bracket makes it bigger. You can tap the keys as much as you want to increase and decrease the size quickly. And when I've cleaned that up, I'll go press OK. And now I have my selection a little more refined. So I've got to go back to the edit menu and choose copy or Command or Control C. Switch back over to the shelf and go to the edit menu or Command or Control V and choose paste. Switch to the move tool, grab one of the corners and make your glass smaller. Move it onto the shelf. Grab a corner and make it smaller again. Press enter or return, and then tap on the background to release the selection. And we're going to zoom in and look at that edge, and now it's much smoother and it blends better with the background. All right, let's see how to use these same techniques on a project that's more professional looking. We're going to start with a model in one photograph and cut it out and place it onto a background from another photograph. So I'm going to open the model in the background. And we can see them both here. So I'm going to cut the model out of the photograph that she's in. I'll use the object selection tool. So two-finger tap to open up that menu, get the object selection tool, and drag a rectangle around the model photograph. This will let Photoshop do the selection for you. But we'll notice it's not quite perfect, right? Part of the hat is missing. We need to add the rest of the hat to the selection. So two-finger tap on the object selection tool and switch to the quick selection tool. We'll make sure you have the plus version of the quick selection tool selected, and then drag it around that part of the hat to add it to the rest of the selection. I'm going to zoom in and make sure I haven't missed anything else, and I do need to touch up the fingers on her hand. I'll do it the same way. I will just drag the quick selection tool with the plus and add the rest of the fingers into the overall selection. Okay, when everything looks good, I'm going to do one more thing to kind of clean up the selection. So often when you select out of a background, a very, very tiny edge of the background is still there. So we're going to switch to select and mask view. I'm going to drag the shift edges slider all the way over, and that's going to shrink the selection very, very slightly to clean up a little bit of the background that might be on the edge of her body. And after I have that, I will click OK and go back to the selection view. And now we need to copy, so go to the edit menu or use Command or Control C and switch to the background. And go to the edit menu or use Command or Control V to paste. Yeah. So now the model is on the new background, but the model has lighting from the original background. She doesn't really match the new green plants behind her, so we'll take care of that. We're going to take the background layer and duplicate it. So you can two-finger tap on it and pick duplicate. And then click OK. And I'm going to slide this layer above the model. Just drag it up in the layer panel, and it completely covers the model. And I'm going to apply a filter to blend all the colors of this picture together. So I'm going to go to the blur and choose average. And that's the green that I get. Okay, I only want to apply this to the model. I'm going to Option or Alt tap on the line between the two layers. And that means that it's only going to go onto the model. We can see the model silhouette here is now green. Okay, I'm going to switch the mode to soft light. which brings in some of the green, but allows me to see the model a lot more. And then I'm going to lower the opacity so she's not quite as green as she was, but she still has some green highlights and make it look like she's more naturally part of the environment with these green plants in the background. Okay, we can turn off the color to see the difference just by clicking the eyeball on that layer. And here I can show you a close-up of before we change the color and after we change the color. So it's not a big change, but it's enough to make it seem more realistic.